All right, what's going on, guys? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. Just me and Coop here today. What's going on, Coop?
Hey,
Yeah, we're excited. It's a monster mile. We're going to be at Dover. Dover is it's one of our favorite tracks. It's fast. It's kind of like an extended, Bristol. If you take Bristol Motor Speedway and you kind of stretch it apart, you kind of get a Dover. So we're excited. It's only the Xfinity series and the Cup series this weekend, but as always, we're gonna be breaking it down for you guys. And I also want to say thank you so much. We hit our goal of hitting over 100 subscribers, and we're well on our way to getting to 200, which is kind of our next milestone. So thank you guys so much for the support and subscribing, liking the videos, interacting with us. That's what we're all here for. Is to have fun and to make some money on the way doing so. So glad that we're all kind of in this together. But let's look at the Xfinity slate here. So, this race isn't particularly that long, but the track's only a mile long, so these laps click off pretty fast. So, I would say these dominators are probably more important to get in your line, kind of like a short track where you want to really, get maybe 2 to 3 of those dominators in your line. Because if you don't have them, there's a lot of dominator points you're going to be missing out on. So, for us, we're really going to try to focus on maybe getting 2 to 3 of those guys in our line and then pairing them with other drivers who offer good place differential and good value. So, with that being said, we'll just hop over to the drivers real quick. I guess I'll start for the expensive guys. I don't think I've ever started. Usually, I throw it's either Cooper Rich here, but Ty Gibbs down to John Hunter Nemechek. I think you can't really go wrong with any of these plays. I would say if there's one guy who I think kind of gets left out, I would say it's probably AJ Allmendinger there, just because of, A, where he starts, and B, kind of the guys that he's priced around. So if you look at Ty Gibbs, I mean, Ty Gibbs has been just electric this year. I mean, he's been amazing. His first race we saw him race, he was the cheapest guy on the slate. Now he's the most expensive. He's always a threat to lead laps. He should be up there, fighting for a top five. Cindric's probably the best driver in the series right now, so he's always another contender that's up there. Get to lead you laps, got to run those fast laps, and he has some place differential banked into his starting position as well. Justin Allgaier won one of these races last year, and he just won last week as well. So I could see him being the early dominator before maybe a Cindric takes over. Like I said, Allmendinger, I think, kind of gets left out in this range. And then John Hunter Nemechek, this car is decent. He's in the 26 car this week. But all we really need from him is, a top 12, a top 10 finish. And if you compare him with a guy who's leading laps, I think it's going to be a good play for you. So what about you, Coop? What are your thoughts on these expensive guys this week?
yeah, this is a good week for Austin Cindric, I think. I like that he's a little cheaper than Ty Gibbs, starting a little further back. He's led laps in more races than he hasn't. He's got some PD upside there. I'm gonna find myself playing a good bit of Cindric. Love Gibbs, don't get me wrong, but the fact that Cindric's $500 less, and I think that he has more potential to lead more laps. I'm going to lean Cindric, sorry, in this top group. And then I like pairing him with John Hunter. I think John Hunter doesn't have any downside, and I think he's got a ton of upside. So I like those two out of this group the most. Rolling on down, I like Noah Gragson as another potential dominator, especially early in the race. I could see him getting out there and leading laps relatively early and clicking off those laps led. I don't have much interest in Burton or Jones, but I do like Hemrick as a GPP play. In the since the pandemic hit, there was a long stretch of where the pole leader did not pay off to play him for whatever reason. The last couple of weeks in the different series, it seemed to have been changing a little bit, and Hemrick as a GPP play, I think, will come in relatively low owned, so I don't mind him in a GPP.
Yeah, I like Hemrick a lot too. And I'll also say Dover is a track that is notoriously hard to pass. So you have to look at what other places can a driver potentially gain spots. And, one of those options is going to be pit road. And Hemrick consistently has one of the fastest pit road, times. His crew is really good. He always is gaining spots on pit road, and he's more of an experienced driver, so he's pretty good on the restarts. I would say that's kind of the other opportunity to advance your position before everyone kind of settles into the running place there. So I think Hemrick has a really good chance of leading early. The only thing that scares me about Hemrick, he has Allgaier starting right next to him, and we've seen how good Allgaier has run in this race before. So I probably wouldn't play those guys together, but if you want to pivot off of Allgaier and you're looking for some salary relief, I think Hemrick's a good option. And then, like Coop said too, Gregson always runs really fast. This is also a track where the fast laps are usually divvied up throughout the field, just depending on what guys are in traffic and what guys aren't in traffic who can lay down a fast lap. And Gregson is a guy who can easily, even if he's not leading the laps, can earn you some dominator points from the fast lap potential. So I do like both of those guys. Josh Berry down to JJ Yaley. I think Barry and Annette are interesting. They're always priced right next to each other. I think Annette is always the safer play, but he doesn't have the kind of upside that Josh Berry has. But both of these guys for me are only really going to be GPP options just based off of where they're starting. Justin Haley, Jeb Burton. These cars are good. I don't know if they're going to lead laps, but they could. They have that potential to do so. And we saw Ross Chastain run really well in the 10 car here last year, and that's the car that Jeb Burton's in. And Jeb Burton was in the 8 car for Junior Motorsports last year and put together a couple of good runs here. So I think he's a good play at $8,300. You can pair in your line and still get some of those more top expensive plays that we talked about. And JJ Yaley, we love Yaley. Every week he always starts deep in the field. This week he's actually in the 23 car, which might even be a little bit better than that 17 car, but I think they're pretty comparable. So I don't mind paying all the way up for JJ Yaley as long as you're pairing him with maybe like a Cindric or an Allgaier or a Hemrick who you think potentially might be leading you those laps.
Yeah, I like Barry, Annette, and Haley and Burton all for GPPs. I don't know that I would play them in cash unless that's where your salary ended up, and then I really wouldn't feel bad about any of them. But Yaley is where I really have the interest in this range. I really like Yaley at the price. He seems to be getting a little more expensive, and I'm still willing to pay it because he's shown that he can drive into the top 20, maybe break the top 15, and just turn in a good finish with a lot of place differential. So I have no problem paying for Yaley anytime he's starting this far back in the Xfinity series at all. And moving down, Riley Herbst is starting a little further back this week. Have a little bit of interest there. And a little, if you're doing a cash line and you end up with 7,700, I don't mind Landon Castle either. I don't know that I'd play him too much in a GPP. I'd rather get up to Herbst in a GPP than I would Castle. Probably would prefer Castle and cash maybe. I don't know. It's kind of close there. I don't mind either of them, but I'm not going out of my way to lock them in either. And then I don't mind this mid 7K range either. Sieg, Snyder, Moffitt have all sort of surprised a little bit this year. I don't want to say they're overperforming, but they're performing very well. And I don't mind getting any of them in this range either, particularly Moffitt, actually. Snyder, we have his medium there, but I don't mind Moffitt at all. He's really driven well this year, and he's shown that he has the skill to make it happen, and I think he can get a top 10 in this car. So if he keeps his spot there, I don't mind him at all.
Yeah, for me, there's, I guess, maybe the 3 guys I like. Riley Herbst he's hard to trust, but we saw he was in the 18 car last year that Hemrick's in this year, and he put together, a decent run here at Dover. And I don't know if it was the same race or the other race, but Briscoe won this race in that same 98 car. So it's the same equipment that Briscoe, won this race with and, basically dominated that race. So if Herbst can just somehow manage to put together a good run, like even if he finishes 12th, like, at $7,900 starting 20th, I don't mind that play. His equipment's going to be, better than all the guys around him in this range. The other guy I like is kind of Mike Snyder there. I think he's a similar play to Moffitt. I just like Snyder's equipment a little bit better, even though I think Moffitt is probably a better driver. But they're priced right next to each other, so I don't mind either of those options there. And then going down to this 6K range, I really like Brandon Brown and Josh Williams. I know Josh Williams didn't end up working out for everybody that played him last week at Darlington. But if you watch the race, it wasn't his fault. Ryan Vargas, of all people, ran into him on pit road, and it damaged something on Williams' car that he wasn't able to continue with the race. So for that reason, I think a lot of people might be off of him this week just because he burned a lot of people last week, and he starts even further back now than he did last week. And at $6,700, I think he's a good value play that you can plug into your lines. And then same thing with Brandon Brown. We've seen how well Jeremy Clements has run this year. If Clements wasn't starting 8th, I'd have some more interest in him there, but they're basically in the same equipment. And Brandon Brown's a guy who has top 10, upside. It's probably more so top 12. But that's really what you're looking for out of this range. You're just looking for the finishing potential. None of these guys are going to lead you any laps. None of them are going to run any fast laps. It's just who can give you that good place differential and who can give you the best finish possible. And for me, I have the most confidence in Brandon Brown and Josh Williams. But are there any other guys in this range group that kind of stick out to you?
No, but I will add on and say I'm super high on Josh Williams this week. Usually he starts a little further up, and his finishes have been really pretty decent this year. And I like him. The only reason I like him more than Brandon Brown, if they were starting at the same place, it would be a toss-up. But he's starting 10 spots further back and just has that much more upside for me. So I really like Williams this week, and I really like Brown as well. And again, you have it there, but Galding starts last, so he can't hurt your line in a cash lineup if that's where you end up.
Let's get down to the punts here. If you're paying up for the big guys, are you scraping down here?
I'm really trying to avoid it. Cody Ware maybe. And outside of that, I really don't have any interest in these guys. It's tough to come down to this range. And once you get below 6K, you're really just kind of throwing a dart and hoping it hits. And if I had to throw a dart, it would be probably on Cody Ware.
Yeah, he's taking his turn at the 17 car. This weekend it kind of rotates its drivers, so we know that equipment's good. Starting 27th, I wish he was starting a little bit further back, but I have more confidence in him than I do a lot of these other guys. A, because of the equipment that he's in, and B, just the experience that he has. A lot of these other guys either start too close to the front. Their equipment has a chance to fail, or like Coop said, I think you can kind of build more of a balanced lineup and get some good value and good place differential plays with a lot of the 6K range that we talked about, a lot of that 7K range that we talked about. And usually a lot of people jam in those top guys and then they'll have to dig all the way down here. So I think that's also a good way to be a little bit different. So any final thoughts for you, Coop, or are you ready to hop over to the Cup video?
No, I think that covers it. I guess I'm really high on Cindric, really high on Nemechek, and then really high on Josh Williams. To give you 3 drivers that I'm probably going to have the most exposure to, those 3 would probably be them.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have a lot of Cindric and a lot of Allgaier. Those are the 2 drivers I think I'm the most confident in. So I think if you start with either of those guys and then you kind of build around to those, those good place differential plays like we talked about, or some of those good value plays, I think that's the right way to go this weekend. But that's going to do it for the Xfinity video. Once you guys are done building your lineups, hop over and check us out for the Cup video.